Good afternoon, my fellow Canadians. After 4 years of this fool, Justin Trudeau, and I call him a fool, but he's much, much less than that. I would say he's the most irresponsible prime minister in our country's history, with the most scandals, the most times accused and convicted by the ethics commissioner, the most anti-freedom of speech, anti-freedom of the press prime minister, the least transparent prime minister, and the most racist prime minister, at least in action, and the most hypocritical prime minister this country has ever seen. Everything that you have done, Mr. Trudeau, has been done to weaken this country and to promote your globalist perspective. Everything you've done, you failed to protect our borders. You failed to protect us from threats. You failed to ensure our interests abroad, especially in China and the United States. You failed as a prime minister to show diversity and true respect to women. You failed to uphold the judiciary system in this country and to uphold our Attorney General, in spite of the fact that you knew you were pressuring her illegally, and you still tried to further your own interests. You failed the public, war veterans. You failed people who have fought for this country and did their best and served this country with honor and dignity. And you have failed them fundamentally by failing to take care of their needs. You failed to keep the country's economy going strong. You've done everything in your power to sabotage our economy, to sabotage Alberta itself, the oil sands, and this country's bright future. Now in the past, lots of money could have been made during this time, but you have seen to it that you have prevented us Canadians from having jobs, except in Papineau, where you claim to be saving jobs, but that was just an excuse, a pretense so that you could keep your power. You have done literally nothing for education except try to indoctrinate our kids in favor of your new radicalist leftist schemes. You've done everything in your power to corrupt this nation and divide us in every way. And I hope very much that Canadians see you for your true face, Mr. Trudeau. I hope Canadians don't forget you, and if they do, I will do everything in my power to remind them how you failed our nation. Mr. Scheer, I consider you an extremely weak leader. I consider you a weak person. I consider you to have weak integrity. You seem not to know what you stand for. You seem not to know what you're doing as leader of the party. You have many, many good people working for you, but you never took advantage of trying to elevate them or bring them in the public sight where you yourself have failed. You, Mr. Scheer, I doubt are good prime minister material, and I believe that when you ran 4 years ago after Stephen Harper, and I believe that now. Here's the evidence of your hard work, which is non-existent. You should never have let it get this bad. The Liberals and Conservatives tied for the vote. Who will you vote for tomorrow? It should never be that close. You have all the evidence, all the material you need to go after Mr. Trudeau and make your success as Prime Minister of this country, but you fail. And the reason is your demeanor is not the right demeanor that is required for a leader. You seem weak and infirm and very shaky in your confidence. You seem not to be the right person to rule this country, but you seem also not to be the right person for the official opposition neither, since you can't even make good points and stick to them. You know better than anyone all the crimes that Trudeau has committed, but instead of doing the right thing and going after him, you've been like a little puppy dog trying to chase after a car. You've simply failed in every way to make an adequate case for yourself against Trudeau. and you've made it about politics and not about the moral values of this country. But in short, you are a very weak leader of the opposition. Preston Manning and Stephen Harper were great leaders for the Conservative Party, and you should have learned more from them. Mr. Singh, you are the successor for Jack Layton, the only legitimate threat that the NDP has ever had the pleasure of releasing on this country. Jack Layton died, but before he died, he nearly became the Prime Minister of this country. And Mr. Singh, I don't know much about you. That could be a consequence of my own ignorance. It could also be a consequence of the fact that you have done not much to impress upon Alberta your intentions. The Bloc Québécois, I won't mention too much about you. And Elizabeth May, I believe, I won't mention too much about you. Your current statistics stand at both 7%. I consider you to be an illegitimate threat at this time to the leadership. And to Maxime Bernier, I don't respect what you do. You belong with the Conservative Party of Canada. The fact that you split to the PPC is a decision made out of your own selfish interests. The Conservative Party needs you more than ever. And the fact that you split the vote on this is very, very much annoying, because that 3 or 6% or 7% or whatever you earn could have gone to the Conservatives if you had been where you were supposed to be. So, my fellow Canadians, tonight we will look upon the leaders' debate with much interest and much apprehension for the future. If Trudeau wins again, I will feel very deeply sorrowful for this country, and I will continue to report on the activities of the Liberal government, any illegal, any shady activities, if I may use that word, because there has been a lot of evidence of that. And if you don't believe me, look to the Rebel News, look to the National Post, look to 770 on Daniel Smith. Look at these sources and you'll see. There are many people in this country who believe that leftist radicals have taken over this country, and I am among them. And I see from the evidence that Canadians, I hope, that are very much aware of it and will act against it by voting against Trudeau. And though Andrew Scheer is not a leader I support, I do support the Conservative Party. My vote goes to the Conservative Party, not Andrew Scheer. The party itself should not suffer because the leader is not completely adequate. If you vote Mr. Scheer in power, I guarantee you'll have 10 times, even 100 times a better and more responsible and more transparent government than Mr. Trudeau ever was. So I thank you for your attention, and I wish you well, my fellow Canadians, and good night. Bye-bye.